Hello! I am making a new video today after my last one did go the way that I expected. Um, and because I am a firm believer that sharing problems and handicaps is just as important as sharing successes, I want to show you first a success and then a problem with it. So this is, as usual, something new. This is the Sponza scene made by Crytek, which I didn't have the ability to render something like this before. I could only render one model, and the Sponza has a few dozens of models all at once. So this is completely new functionality that I added to NeverEngine. And as you can see, like, everything is rendered properly, although it's completely flat. I don't have any fancy rendering right now. It's literally just the texture color. And by the way, little fact, I've recently learned that this is an actual building. Like, the Sponza exists somewhere in Italy. There is like a physical place that looks like this that you can go and see. It's a little bit different, like all the drapes and whatnot are not there. This is something that Crytek seems to have added, but the shape of the building, yeah, like all the columns and all the stones and the statues and whatnot, like that exists. That is a real place. Go check it out. I found it really interesting. Okay, so the success is essentially that I can render this, and it wasn't that hard to get going. It took me essentially the weekend. The handicap, however, is I want you to see my FPSs. Any gamer worth his salt is going to look at this and it's going to call NeverEngine garbage. Why is this rendering so slow? Why is this not 60 FPS? And yeah, I made that mistake, and it's important to share mistakes. So what has happened with this is, when I was making my engine, my number one priority is and was making it as flexible as possible. However, flexibility comes with handicaps, right? If you want to minimize the number of assumptions, that's also less stuff that you can assume when doing optimizations. And I've coded myself into a little bit of a pickle. Right now, what has happened is that I am remaking all of the rendering information every frame, because that makes the system more flexible, because I'm not assuming that the state has already been set up and recorded. But for one model, that's not too bad, it still works. But when you're rendering something as large as the Sponza that has so many models, it creates a lot of inefficiencies. So I'm going to show you the profiling of my frame, and I'm going to indicate to you what's wrong right now, and then I'm going to talk about what I could potentially do to improve things. Before that, however, I want to show you this really cool thing on Google. Look! The Sponza! It's a physical place. It's real. It's real, man! I don't know why this was really exciting to me. I don't know why. It's probably irrational. A lot of you probably don't think that this is even that interesting of fact, but like, I am just amazed that this is a real place that I can go to. Maybe one day I'll be able to get a ticket and make a video inside of the Sponza. So this is the profiling of NeverEngine as it is running right now on the Sponza scene. And essentially in here you can see the problem with my current design. So I am recreating the pipelines and the descriptor sets every frame. For those of you not familiar with Vulkan, the pipeline is sort of what tells the GPU how stuff is going to be rendered. Like, it's sort of like the shaders. Like, that's a little bit of a lie, but if I had to put it in a few words, it's like what tells it which shaders to use and how. And then the descriptor sets, Artwork tells it which textures it's gonna use, how it's going to use those textures, which vertices we're passing into it. So essentially, it's the bare minimum that you need to configure a frame. Normally, if you were doing a regular engine, a video game engine, what you would do with these is you pre-record them at the beginning because you know how your frame is gonna go. Yeah, like you just pre-record them and run that every frame and you're golden. Because I don't want to do that, because I don't want to assume that I know what the structure of a frame is gonna be, I ended up having recreated every frame. And that's no good, because that ends up generating the problem that we just saw where the FPSs are low. So I need to solve this. Now, what alternatives do I have? Well, option number one is to cache everything. That's the easiest. The problem with caching, however, is that you still pay an overhead cost to compare whether you actually need to recreate something or if it's already in the cache. And I don't like that for a variety of reasons. The other option, which is the one that I would like to go, but it requires a lot of extra effort, is I need to redefine my render such that essentially it keeps a state, and so it keeps using the same state unless that state changes. So for example, if under one frame what you did is you call the same shader 3 times with different textures, then all of those get recorded in a state, and every frame it will keep doing those same 3 calls with the same order of textures until something goes and changes the recorded information and tells it that one of the textures changes, or maybe the entire shader changes. Now that is, happy land, that is the ideal, but it is also, of the two options, the one that requires the most effort. As you know, I work 8 hours a day in a AAA studio, which means that time is not something that I have much of. So I'm still wavering which of the two I should go with. If I had all the time in the world, I would definitely go with the second option. For now, I might just go with whatever is easier, but that means that I am carrying on technical depth, and I don't like to acquire technical depth if I can avoid it. We'll see. I may start with the first one, see how much trouble it actually ends up being, and maybe give up halfway through if I see that it's not realistic with the amount of time that I have available. But hopefully this video can show you that sometimes you spend a lot of time thinking as to what is a good design for your purposes, and then you run into situations that show you that you didn't think about certain edge cases. Because I was so focused on, I'm just doing one model at a time, so I know that I'm not going to be creating these huge scenes and so on, so I can probably get away with it. And then I said, I think that my single model demos are neat and all, but for the sake of the channel, I want to start doing bigger stuff that is a little bit more impressive so that people get interested and so on. And that has revealed that I optimized so much for versatility that I've sacrificed performance, and now I need to revise my assumptions. On any case, I don't want to make the video longer. I'm rambling now, so thank you very much for watching. If you're interested into this kind of stuff, let me know in the comments.